Again, you can follow along in this lesson in your original index.js file, or you can copy the lesson 3 file from the repository into a new lesson3.js file in your project and change the file name in the index.html file to be lesson 3. And I actually made a mistake in my last lesson. Lesson 1 here should actually be lesson 2 because lesson 1 was setting up our environment, so I'm just going to change that right here really quickly. And so I'm going to go to this repository right here. You can go to this URL. I'm going to click on lesson 3. I'm going to copy the contents here. And then I'm going to create a new file called lesson3.js. And then I'm going to copy the contents or paste the contents here, save it. I'm going to go here and change this to lesson 3 right here. So first, type coercion. We saw in the last lesson that sometimes JavaScript can be pretty loose with types. For example, doing a number plus a string like this, 3 plus whatever, will give us 3 whatever here because it's converting this number into a string. Also, if we use the unstrict equals and not equals comparators, we can have 2 equals 2 to be true, like this, even though this number here is a number and this one is a string right here. Another type of type coercion we can do, which is actually more useful, is to turn truthy or falsy values into actual true or false values with the exclamation point or opposite operator. Putting this operator before a value will result in the opposite Boolean. So, for example, exclamation point true will actually be false, and let me comment this out. So exclamation point true will be false, and exclamation point false will actually be true. Also, exclamation point hello, which is truthy, will be false, and then 2 will also be false. But then if we do something like 0, this will actually be true. If we do an empty string here, this will be true. And if we do undefined here, or null, it will also be true. We can also put 2 exclamation points before a value to turn the truthy or falsy value into an actual true or false value. So if we do exclamation point undefined, that's going to actually turn it into false instead of just falsy. And exclamation point hello will actually be true instead of just truthy. Second, browser functions. We've already used 2 browser functions, console log and type of. These are functions that are available in the browser without needing to define them ourselves. Alert, prompt, and confirm are also browser functions. And although they are being used less and less because you can't control what they look like, they still have their uses and are good to know about. If we type alert, this is an alert, so I'm going to do that right here. Alert, this is an alert. We will see that it produces a pop-up alert in the browser. And if I type confirm, or prompt, let's do prompt first. This is a prompt. It will produce a prompt dialog here where you can type something in here. And if we do confirm, it will produce a confirm dialog here, like that, where you have to press OK or cancel. We'll use these in the next lesson to apply some of the things that we've learned. Some other useful browser functions to know are string, number, and Boolean. These browser functions will convert what's inside the parentheses to what the name of the function is. So if we do console log string 2, 2 is a number, but doing that will actually turn the string. It's easier if we do it here. If we do string 2, even though 2 is a number, we'll see that it gives us the string 2 here. And if we do number, and then we do a string 2 in here, it's actually going to give us the number 2. And if we do number 2, you'll see it more clearly. It gives us the number 2. If we do Boolean 2, so remember this is truthy because it's a string with something inside of it, it's going to actually give us true. And then Boolean maybe 0 will give us false because that's falsy. Third, variables. Variables are used to store data such as values, functions, arrays, and objects. To create a variable, we use the word var followed by the variable name. For example, we can write var greeting equals hello. And now if we log greeting, we'll see that it shows up in the browser as hello because it's being stored as hello right there. If we try to log greeting without defining the variable first, so let's try to delete this line right here, you'll see that it throws an error because it's undefined. But if we do something like type of greeting, we'll get undefined, so that doesn't actually throw an error there. Let's put that line we deleted back in now. So let me do this. To update a variable after it's defined, we can simply write something like greeting equals hola. And you'll see that it's updated to hola in the console right here. Okay, so it's just showing hola right there. Variables can store not just values, but also the result of operations. So if we do var total equals 3 plus 4, let's put parentheses around this because you can do that also, times 2, and then let's console log total. We'll see that we get 14 there, which is 3 plus 2, which is 3 plus 4, which is 7, times 2, which is 14. There is some shorthand syntax that we can use for updating variables that are numbers. Let's say we have var num equals 3 right here, and let's just console log the num right there. You'll see that there's 3 right here. We can update our num variable by doing num equals num plus 4, which is the longhand version, so num equals num plus 4, and that will give us 7 as we expect. A shorthand version to do this is we can do num plus equals 4, which will be the same thing. It's just a shorthand version, which gives us 7 also. We can also do minus equals, let's say, 7 to give us negative 4 right there. Another thing that we can do is num plus plus, which will increment it by 1. So that's going to give us 4. We can also do num minus minus, which will give us 2 right there. Regarding how we should capitalize variables, there is camel case and Pascal case. Camel case is when you don't capitalize the first word and capitalize every other word. And Pascal case is where you capitalize every word. Generally speaking, we almost always want to use camel case. Pascal case should be reserved for the names of classes, which we will cover in a future lesson. So we would write var should write code equals true, and you'll see that the should is not capitalized, the write is capitalized, and the code is also capitalized. And fourth, if-else statements. If-else statements are foundational to JavaScript programming. They allow us to define conditions for what code we want to run, and if we want to run that particular code. So let's write right here, var name equals Michael. And then if name equals Michael, console log hello Michael. So the syntax here is the word if, followed by the condition in the parentheses, followed by a pair of curly braces. Notice the way we are indenting our code. The code inside the curly braces is indented to make it easier to read. If the condition in the parentheses evaluates to true or truthy, so here the name is equal to Michael and that is true, the code in the curly braces will run. So if we refresh our browser, we'll see that it says hello Michael there. But if we change Michael here to John, like that, it is no longer true, it is false, and so that code will not run. So you see that is not logged there. We can add conditions to our if statements with the words else if, like this. We can do else if name equals John, console log hello John. And now if we refresh it, it's going to hit the else if, and hello John is going to log to the console. To add a catch-all for everything that doesn't meet any of the conditions in the if statement, we use the word else. So up here we have else if, we just use else for a catch-all, so we can say else console log hello. So now if we change this to, let's say, Max, which is not Michael or John, it's going to hit that and just write hello. Let's now add just one more condition to see how if-else statements handle truthy cases. Let's add this. Else if name, so if there's just a name that exists, we're going to console log hello plus the name. So this else if is going to catch the Max because Max is truthy, it exists, and if we refresh our browser, it's going to say hello Max. And that's the end of this lesson. You can now either play around with the things that we learned in this lesson, or you can move on to the next lesson, where we will be creating a simple game using the things that we have learned so far.